Let me tell you something that most women don't realize. The moment you stop clinging, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you detach from the outcome, that's the exact moment a man starts paying attention. Men don't want a woman who loses herself trying to keep him. They want a woman who knows her worth, even if it means walking away. Today, I'm going to show you why detachment is not about playing games. It's about power, respect, and true attraction. You know what happens when you cling too tightly to someone? You stop giving them a chance to see who you really are. You become so wrapped up in their approval, in their validation, in their presence, that your own presence gets smaller. And here's the truth. Respect can't live in that space. Respect doesn't grow in neediness. Respect grows in strength, in boundaries, in knowing who you are without someone else holding you up. When you detach, when you say, I don't need you to breathe, I don't need you to function, I don't need you to define me, something powerful happens. A man sees that, he notices. And what he notices is a woman who values herself. That's not just attractive, it's magnetic. Men don't respect desperation. They respect independence. They respect when you stand on your own 2 feet, even when your heart wants to run after them. Let's be clear, detachment doesn't mean coldness. It doesn't mean playing games. It doesn't mean you stop caring or that you suddenly act like you're uninterested. That's manipulation, and manipulation always backfires. Detachment is about balance. It's about knowing that your happiness, your peace, your identity, those things don't live in somebody else's pocket. They live in you. And when a man sees that you're not clinging to him to keep your world spinning, he respects you on a deeper level. Think about it. When someone is constantly available, constantly bending, constantly saying, yes, just to keep you around, what do you end up feeling? You stop appreciating it. You take it for granted. Not because you're a bad person, but because the human brain is wired that way. We value what we feel we could lose. We respect what shows it has standards. And the same principle applies in relationships. A man respects the woman who can say, I love you, but I won't lose myself for you. I want you, but I don't need you to survive. Detachment builds respect because it sets the tone. It's like saying, I know my worth, and I won't compromise it just to be chosen. That's powerful. That's what keeps a man leaning in instead of pulling away. Because let me tell you, when you're too attached, when you're terrified of losing him, you start to bend your own rules. You tolerate what you shouldn't. You excuse behavior that doesn't deserve excusing. And little by little, he loses respect for you. Not because he's cruel, but because people can sense when someone is willing to give up everything just to be kept. And the second respect leaves, love follows right behind it. Now picture the opposite. Picture a woman who knows her value so deeply that she's willing to walk away if she's not treated right. A woman who can say, I choose peace over chaos. I choose self-worth over begging. I choose myself. That's the woman who commands respect without even asking for it. That's the woman who a man looks at and thinks, I better step up or I'll lose her. Respect is the foundation of love. Without it, everything else crumbles. Detachment is how you protect that foundation, because when you can detach, you remind a man and yourself that you are not a backup plan, you are not an option, and you are not replaceable. You are the prize, and when a man sees that, when he feels that energy, he can't help but respect it. So hear me when I say this, detachment isn't distance, it's dignity. It's not about shutting him out, it's about standing tall enough that he knows he can't walk all over you. And when you get that right, respect won't just be given. It'll be earned, it'll be lasting, and it'll change the entire way he sees you. Because respect is the doorway to love, and detachment is the key that opens it. Here's something most people don't want to admit. Men are wired to chase what they feel they have to earn. They don't value what's simply handed to them without effort. That doesn't mean you have to play games or pretend to be someone you're not. What it means is this: if you make yourself too easy to access, too easy to predict, too easy to keep, then the respect and the attraction start to fade. Men crave a challenge, and when you learn how to embody that in a healthy way, you flip the dynamic completely. Think about it in every area of life. If you've ever worked hard for something, a job, a degree, a fitness goal, you cherish it more because you put something into it. You invested. You had to struggle. You had to earn it. And once you earned it, you valued it. Relationships work the same way. A man values the woman he feels he's had to show up for, the woman he had to win over with consistency, effort, and commitment. Now, don't misunderstand me. A challenge doesn't mean you're making him jump through hoops for no reason. It doesn't mean you're distant or cold just to keep him guessing. A challenge means you are not instantly won over. It means your standards are high and you're not lowering them for someone who hasn't proven they deserve your time and energy. That's the kind of challenge that ignites respect, not resentment. When a woman detaches from needing a man's constant approval, she naturally becomes a challenge. Why? Because her world doesn't revolve around him. She's not waiting by the phone. She's not sacrificing her boundaries just to keep him happy. She's living her life, she's focused on her growth, and she knows her value. That energy makes a man want to step up. It makes him want to earn a place in her world instead of assuming he's entitled to it. But when a woman gives everything up front, her time, her energy, her heart, without any pace or balance, she removes the challenge, she removes the effort. She makes herself too easy to take for granted. And here's the thing, what's too easy rarely feels worth protecting. But what's earned, what's respected, what's fought for, that's what a man will guard with his whole heart. Men crave a challenge because it keeps them invested. It keeps them engaged. It makes them realize they're not just receiving love, they're responsible for sustaining it. And a man who has to work for your love will treat it with more care than a man who thinks it will always be there no matter what he does. So ask yourself, are you making it too easy for someone who hasn't proven their worth? Are you lowering your standards just to be chosen? Or are you showing up as someone who knows she doesn't have to beg to be valued? The difference is everything. Because when you hold yourself as the challenge, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that honors your dignity, you attract the kind of man who doesn't just want you for convenience, he wants you because he sees your worth. The truth is, men don't fall in love with what's effortless, they fall in love with what feels rare, with what feels worth protecting, with what feels like a gift they had to show up for. Be that challenge, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you are hard to forget. Because when you live as the challenge, you never have to chase. He'll do the chasing for you. Strength isn't always about how loud you are, how tough you act, or how many walls you can build. True strength is emotional. It's the ability to stay calm when everything in you wants to panic. It's the ability to hold steady when you feel like you're losing control. And in relationships, emotional strength shows up through detachment. When you're detached, you're not throwing ultimatums every time things don't go your way. You're not begging, you're not pleading, you're not falling apart just because he's not giving you the attention you want in that moment. Instead, you're steady. You're centered. You know that your emotions belong to you, not to him. And that right there, that's power. A lot of people confuse emotional strength with being emotionless. But that's not it at all. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop crumbling. It means you can love someone deeply, but you're not going to lose yourself if they don't show up the way you expected. And that level of self-control is what makes a man take you seriously. Because men respect a woman who doesn't break under pressure, who doesn't hand over her entire sense of peace just because the relationship feels uncertain. Think about it. When someone reacts to every little thing, when they're overly emotional, when they're constantly spiraling, that doesn't feel safe. It feels unstable. But when someone can step back, breathe, and respond with clarity instead of chaos, you feel safe with them. You trust them. That's the same thing men feel. A woman who can detach, who can regulate her emotions, is a woman who radiates strength. And strength is attractive because it's rare. Anyone can fall apart. Anyone can overreact. Anyone can beg for love. But it takes a strong woman to say, I will not lose myself here. I will not sacrifice my dignity here. I can love you without collapsing for you. That's what catches a man's attention. That's what makes him look at you differently. Now here's the part most people don't want to hear. The more emotionally dependent you are on someone else, the less strength they see in you. And over time, that chips away at attraction, because when he sees that every mood you have depends on him, if he texts you back, if he calls, if he shows up, it doesn't feel like love, it feels like weight, and no one wants to carry the responsibility of being someone else's entire sense of worth. Detachment flips that. Detachment says, I'm whole with or without you. I'm steady no matter what you choose. I won't fall apart just because you step back. And that steadiness is powerful because it shows you're not afraid to be alone. You're not afraid of walking away if you have to. And that quiet confidence is emotional strength at its core. When you carry yourself with that kind of strength, you change the dynamic completely. He's not looking at you as someone who needs saving. He's looking at you as someone he wants to protect, respect, and hold on to. Because men may be drawn to beauty, but they stay for strength, and emotional strength, shown through detachment, is what separates a woman who's replaceable from a woman who's unforgettable. Because love without strength is fragile, but love built on strength is unshakable. Neediness is one of those things that we don't always see in ourselves, but others feel it instantly. It shows up in the way we text too much, the way we over-explain, the way we keep trying to prove we're worth their time. It shows up in that sinking feeling in your stomach when he doesn't respond quickly enough, and suddenly your mind is racing with stories about why. That energy, whether you speak it or not, pushes people away, because neediness doesn't say, I love you. Neediness says, I don't know who I am without you. That's why detachment is so powerful. Detachment breaks that cycle. It stops you from clinging, and it teaches you to breathe again. Instead of sending 10 messages back, you pause. Instead of begging for reassurance, you remind yourself of your own worth. Instead of reacting to every little change in his tone or his timing, you give space. And that space is where respect grows. See, when you're needy, you're constantly in pursuit. You're chasing. You're trying to hold something together with sheer force. And the harder you grip, the faster it slips through your fingers. But when you detach, you release that pressure. You stop trying to force the connection, and suddenly, he feels free to lean in on his own. Men don't run from love, but they do run from pressure. And neediness, even when it comes from a good heart, feels like pressure. I want you to think about this. Have you ever been around someone who just drains you? Someone who always needs more from you than you can give. You might care for them, but deep down, you start to pull back because their need feels heavy. That's exactly how it feels for a man when you make him the sole source of your security, your happiness, your peace. He can't carry that weight forever, and eventually, he'll distance himself. But when you detach, you take that weight off his shoulders. You're saying, I enjoy having you in my life, but I don't need you to breathe. And that changes everything. Because instead of him feeling trapped, he feels chosen. Instead of him feeling pressured, he feels respected. And when a man feels respected, when he feels like he has space, he wants to come closer. Breaking the cycle of neediness also changes how you see yourself. You stop measuring your worth based on how much attention you get. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your feelings. You stop panicking when there's silence. You learn to trust yourself, to trust your value, to trust that if he pulls away, you'll still be whole. And that kind of confidence isn't loud, it's quiet, but it speaks volumes. Here's the beauty of it. Once you stop chasing, you start attracting. Once you stop begging for his time, he starts offering it. Once you stop losing yourself in the relationship, he starts realizing what he could lose if he doesn't step up. That's the shift detachment creates. It doesn't push love away. It invites love to show up in a healthier, stronger way, because in the end, neediness repels. But detachment draws respect, balance, and commitment. And when you break the cycle of neediness, you break free too. There's a truth about human nature that plays out in every relationship. We don't value what we can fully control. Think about it. If something is guaranteed, if it's always there no matter how we treat it, we stop noticing it. We stop respecting it. And men are no different. When a man feels like you're not going anywhere, no matter what he doesn't have to work for you. He doesn't have to step up. He doesn't have to pursue. And slowly he stops. But when you detach, when you hold your ground and show that you won't bend past your boundaries just to be kept, you create a shift. You show him you cannot be controlled. And that energy, right there, is what wakes him up. Because men don't chase what they own, they chase what they admire. They chase what they know they could lose if they don't protect it. Let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation. This isn't about dangling your love like a prize or playing hot and cold games. That's not power, that's insecurity. What I'm talking about is living in such a way that you are never fully under his control. You're not desperate. You're not predictable in your neediness. You're not someone who says, no matter what you do, I'll stay. Instead, you're someone who shows, I'm here because I choose you, not because I need to be here. That's the difference. That's what keeps a man pursuing. When a man feels he can control you, he relaxes into comfort. And comfort, without effort, kills attraction. He starts giving less, doing less, showing up less, because he believes you'll still be there. But when you detach, you hold him accountable without even saying a word. You communicate with your actions, I love you, but I won't stay in a place where I'm not respected. And that creates pursuit, because it reminds him you're not guaranteed. The most unforgettable relationships are the ones where both people know they can't take the other for granted. Where both people understand that love is a choice renewed daily, not a cage. And when you detach, you show him that being with you is a privilege, not a possession. That's why he leans in. That's why he works harder. Because no man wants to feel like his partner is staying out of fear. He wants to feel like she's staying because she wants to, because he's earned her presence. And here's the beauty. When you live this way, you free yourself too. You stop being ruled by fear. You stop waking up every day thinking, what if he leaves me? Instead, you start thinking, if he values me, he'll stay. And if he doesn't, I'll still be whole. That mindset changes everything, because a woman who cannot be controlled is a woman who cannot be forgotten. Men pursue what they can't control because it challenges them to rise, to be better, to protect what they value. And when you show that strength through detachment, you don't just attract pursuit, you inspire respect, effort, and lasting commitment. Because love isn't about being owned. Love is about being chosen every single day. One of the most powerful things about detachment is that it doesn't just change how a man sees you. It changes the kind of man you attract in the first place. Because let's be honest, not every man deserves access to your heart. Not every man deserves the version of you that loves deeply, forgives quickly, and shows up fully. And when you live attached, when you cling, when you chase, when you refuse to let go, you make room for the wrong kind of men. The ones who take, the ones who use, the ones who only want you because you'll never walk away. But when you detach, you filter. You create a boundary that weak men won't cross because they can't handle it. The man who only wants control, he won't pursue you because he knows he can't own you. The man who wants convenience, he won't stay because he knows you won't tolerate crumbs. And that's exactly the point. Detachment clears the path so that only the right man, the man who sees your worth without needing to control you, makes it through. The right man isn't scared of your independence. He's not intimidated by the fact that you don't need him to survive. In fact, that's what inspires him. He knows you're with him because you choose to be, not because you have no other option. And that choice makes him want to earn your love every single day. That's the kind of connection that lasts. Think about the difference for a moment. The wrong man thrives on attachment because it makes you easier to manipulate. He wants you to cling so that you'll accept less than you deserve. But the right man thrives on your strength. He sees your detachment not as distance, but as dignity. He sees your independence not as rejection, but as a challenge to rise to your level. That's the man who won't run when things get tough. That's the man who will show up because he knows you're not afraid to walk away if he doesn't. And here's the real beauty. You don't even have to go searching for him. You just have to hold your standards. When you detach from the need for someone to complete you, you stop settling for anyone who doesn't align with your values. You stop chasing men who aren't ready. You stop lowering your worth just to keep someone around. And by doing that, you naturally attract the man who is ready, the man who respects you, the man who wants to build something real with you. Detachment isn't about rejecting love. It's about protecting it. Protecting your peace, protecting your dignity, protecting your heart until it's in the right hands. And when the right man sees that, he won't be scared off. He'll step up, because men who are serious about you aren't looking for someone they can control. They're looking for someone they can respect, someone they can build with, someone they can admire. That's why detachment is so powerful. It doesn't just change how men treat you. It changes who even tries. It filters out the weak, the selfish, the immature. And it attracts the strong, the committed, the ones who see your independence as the very thing that makes you worth pursuing. Because in the end, detachment doesn't push love away. It protects you long enough for the right love to find you